Do you feel like you're always on a diet but you never make any progress? Even though you're following all of the strict rules that guarantee results, if you haven't changed what's right here, then you will never get rid of this. And I know that because even though I always lost weight with trendy diets, I never kept any of it off. At least not until I made a few important mindset shifts that changed everything. So in this video, I'll show you the 5 changes I made to not only drop 50 pounds, but these shifts were 100% necessary to keep the weight off. But before we get into the first mindset shift, there's something that needs to be said. Even though I hate saying it because it is way overused, I'm gonna say it anyway. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. The reason I forced that quote out is because I spent decades doing the same thing over and over, hoping it would lead to lasting weight loss, only to end up worse off than when I started. Every single time. But I kept at it since that's what the $20 billion weight loss industry told me was necessary if I wanted to burn fat. So I moved more, like a lot more, because I had the mindset that if burning some calories is good, then burning more must be better, which meant I spent hours each week huffing and puffing my way to that lean body that I always dreamed of. But I never got there, at least not until I shifted my mindset from working harder to achieve my fat loss goals to finally getting smarter. Because I soon learned that not only was all of that cardio not burning nearly as many calories as I thought it was, but overdoing cardio was actually slowing my metabolism down. Even though you hear all of the fat loss experts screaming, "Push harder, go faster, don't you stop until your fat cells cry." I don't think these experts reviewed the study that was done on the Hasta tribe from Tanzania. This is a group of hunter-gatherers who are basically on their feet performing intense physical activity all day long. They hunt, they gather, and they forage, which means all of that intense movement should add up to a ton of calories burned. Except it doesn't. Because the study found that the tribesmen only burn between 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day, which is only slightly higher than a typical sedentary Westerner. But how do these extremely active tribesmen only burn slightly more than your bump-on-a-log husband watching Sunday Night Football? Even though you will burn more calories whenever you go from couch potato to cardio bunny overnight, eventually your body adapts to your newfound love of activity. Whether you love cardio or you force yourself through grueling sessions to burn more fat, if you want to keep burning the same calories week after week, then you'll have to keep pushing harder or going longer than you did the week before. But that's not the only bad news that comes with using cardio to burn calories, since your body adapts in more ways than one. Like, have you ever noticed that insatiable hunger you feel soon after a really intense workout? Or how after pushing yourself on the treadmill, you spend way too much time next to your bump-on-a-log husband because you got your workout done, so you deserve a little me time, right? The reason both of these scenarios happen is your body doesn't want to let go of precious body fat as much as you do. So it finds ways to conserve energy just in case a famine is around the corner, which it never is, so you just keep getting fatter. And when I call you fat, I don't mean you. I actually mean me. Because that's what happened whenever I relied on excessive cardio to burn as many calories as possible. So if all of this intense exercise is slowing your metabolism, does that mean your husband finally got it right? Sitting on the couch is never the answer to weight loss. But instead of wasting time on activities that eventually slow your metabolism down, you could work smarter by adding activities that speed it up. Which brings me to my next point, because even though focusing on habits that build a stronger metabolism works, it never works as quickly as you want it to, which isn't as detrimental as it sounds, especially since a scale that won't budge could even be a good thing. 3 years ago, I finally decided that I put my body through enough strict diets and This is absolutely amazing. You gotta try this. Fat loss hacks. I got to the point where I thought maybe I just needed to live out my 40s and beyond in the standard sitcom mom bod. Wait, how am I only 6 years away from being a golden girl? After 30 years of nonstop diets, I was becoming increasingly okay with living in that mom bod. Just not that one, because there is no way Edith was only 44. But I was okay with carrying a little extra weight, especially since my hormones couldn't handle even 1 more ounce of stress. So I quit all fad diets for good and just started eating more of what I wanted. That's the point in my story where you may be wondering, how did she eat everything she wanted while still ending up with that kind of transformation? Back in my fad diet days, I relied on diets that promised big results. So even though I dreaded stepping on the scale on day 1 since I had a ton of weight to lose, I didn't fret for long since my miracle diet promised that I'd lose at least half of that in the first month. And sometimes I did, which meant I finally found the plan that I had been searching for decades. Until that diet got too hard and I quickly regained everything I lost. Once I vowed to quit quick weight loss plans forever, that is when everything changed. Instead of putting my body through the stress of quickly losing and regaining the same 20 to 50 pounds year after year, I decided to gain weight. But how did changing my approach to gaining weight result in me losing 50 pounds? Because the math doesn't seem to be mathing in this scenario. Instead of planning my weight loss efforts around strategies that promise results in days and weeks, I took time to assess my long-term goals, which I learned actually takes months and even years to achieve. Because anyone who builds and maintains a toned body doesn't follow starvation diets while spending hours each day with the sole focus of burning calories. This kind of transformation takes months and years of lifting heavy weights to achieve. And eating meals fit for a toddler won't ever get you here, since if you want to build the body of your dreams, you have to eat enough to fuel your workouts. So when I said that I changed my strategy to gaining weight, I really meant that I wanted to build more muscle, which is heavier than fat by volume. But that doesn't mean I didn't want to lose all of this. The good news is building more muscle speeds up your metabolism, which makes losing fat way easier. Having the patience to work towards results that take months and years, instead of rushing to lose weight as quickly as I could in only days or weeks, means I feel better than I ever have. I easily stay in a healthy weight range year after year, and I'm finally achieving the body that I always wanted in my 20s as a 45-year-old woman. But once I figured out that I had to quit drastically slashing calories while aiming to eat my goal weight in protein every day to get that body, plus I had to lift heavy weights 2 to 3 times each week, I couldn't wrap my brain around which diet I was actually following. Because, like I mentioned, I was eating pretty much anything I wanted. But how could I proclaim to the world which miracle diet I followed to get this kind of transformation when I wasn't even sure what that miracle was called? And that's when it hit me. Spending decades hopping on and off any diet with a name is the exact reason I stayed stuck for so many years. Because any weight I lost on Atkins, I quickly regained, and then I had to lose it again with South Beach. But it wasn't long before I started learning the rules of paleo, especially since my multiple stints with Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig never did much for me past a few weeks. Keto worked for a while, at least until it didn't, which I thought I could fix by fasting more, but that just led to even more burnout and rebound weight gain. So how did I finally get the results I wanted without forcing myself on another strict diet? It wasn't until I quit the mindset that any of these miracle diets would save me and started believing that weight loss truly does come down to eating less calories than I burned that I started making progress, which meant I could finally quit fad diets for good and just eat whatever I wanted as long as I stayed in a calorie deficit, within reason, because I still had to focus on foods that kept me full while in a moderate calorie deficit. I also had to eat in the right macro ranges in order to fuel my workout, which meant most of the processed junk food I previously lived on was still out. All of the real foods I learned to enjoy while following some of these fad diets stayed on the menu. But the difference is, this time I didn't eliminate any food entirely, especially since I learned from past diets that making my favorite foods off limits made me want them even more. To find success with my non-diet diet, I had to learn which foods kept me feeling fuller longer while in a calorie deficit, as well as which meals fueled my workouts. If you don't want to waste time figuring this all out on your own, then do I have something for you. I mean, it's just a high protein meal plan and it's only $27, so I guess none of those sleazy sales tactics are really necessary. I'll just leave that link in the pinned comment in case you want a quick cheat sheet of the meals I use to lose 50 pounds. Either way, we still got more to talk about, because if I don't show you this next mindset shift, good luck with any future diet attempts, especially since this is one of the biggest mistakes most dieters make, but you don't even realize you're making it until it's already too late. With 30 years of yo-yo diets behind me, I unfortunately know this diet trap all too well. So how did I finally escape the all-out binge fest that most restrictive diets lead to? Let's pretend this cup of M&Ms is the fat that you want to lose, with 10 M&Ms representing 1 pound of fat. Whenever a new week, new you Monday type of diet rolls around, the average dieter goes into the week with grit and determination. On Monday, not only does she stick to her low-calorie diet, but she also hops on the elliptical for an extra boost. But wait, she really cut her calories low this time, so let's get rid of a little more. On Tuesday, she still makes it to the gym, and even though it was a little harder, she sticks to her low-calorie plan. Same for Wednesday and Thursday, but by Friday, she sleeps in and skips her workout. Since she already started her day off on the wrong track, what's the harm in a free office donut? But starting the day with sugar spikes her appetite while also reducing her willpower, leaving our dieter indulging in tacos and margaritas for lunch, followed by a vending machine afternoon pick-me-up. Because she already screwed up, so why not keep going? Which leads to a weekend filled with bad choices, followed by having to start from scratch Monday morning. Quite literally. As dieters, we have all followed these screw it kind of diets. It wasn't until I made one tiny mindset shift that I never found myself in a diet starts Monday kind of diet again. But what was the shift I had to make? Instead of starting with a very low calorie plan, I followed a moderate deficit, which makes it easier to stick to since I never feel deprived or too low energy, which is what led to weekend binge fests in the past. Even though I don't lose as quickly, a moderate plan keeps me consistent even on weekends, making my plan sustainable for way longer. But just because I follow a more moderate plan, that doesn't mean temptations aren't there, which means I may occasionally skip a workout. But instead of throwing my hands up into the air proclaiming that I screwed up so I might as well keep going, instead, I just do the next right thing, knowing that a morning donut will send me on a blood sugar roller coaster that lasts for the rest of the day, skip the freebie and stick to my high protein breakfast. Understanding that tacos and margaritas will set off a non-stop weekend binge, I order fajitas with no chips and no tortillas instead. And I keep making the next right decision with the understanding that making one mistake doesn't automatically screw up all of the progress I made that week. Even if I indulge just a little on the weekend, that doesn't mean I call myself a failure, binge on every last piece of junk I can shove into my mouth while vowing to start from scratch on Monday. So if you do make one mistake, which you absolutely will, just do the next right thing. Even if you put a minor ding into your progress, you are still way better off than saying, screw it, I'm already a failure, so I might as well. Which brings me to the last mindset change I had to make to lose 50 pounds. This is a big one, and it might even be the hardest of all of these mindset shifts to make. But if you ever want to achieve your fat loss goals, you have to stop sabotaging yourself with every thought, literally. Because continuing with this next mindset is like living your life in an echo chamber, making any tiny mistake feel monumental making it impossible for you to do the next right thing. But as dieters, we all do this, even as humans. Because of the 60,000 thoughts we have each day, more than 80% of those thoughts are negative. Your brain naturally does this to keep you alert and safe. And while maybe you don't even think twice about critiquing every ounce of fat you see when you walk past a mirror, or you don't consider how calling yourself a failure anytime you make even the tiniest mistake affects your progress, these constant negative thoughts can impact your mental health, happiness, and quality of life. And if you don't realize how much negative self-talk impacts your weight loss efforts, then you could be struggling to lose the same 20 to 50 pounds just like I did for decades to come. So how did I finally overcome beating myself up every time I ate something that wasn't on my plan? Well, I had kids. As any mama bear knows, if you've got something to say about my kids, then you better say it to my face. And then turn and run as fast as you can, because a mama bear's sole purpose is to protect her cubs. We also know how devastating it is when your little cub runs to you in tears because some little called him a big fat poopy face. You feel that devastation because your feelings hurt whenever he hurts. And you do everything you can to calm him, protect him, and prepare him to stand up to all of life's bullies that he has yet to meet. But why aren't you using those same protective instincts to stand up to your biggest life bully, which happens to be you? Every time you shame yourself for eating something that isn't on your diet, stop to think about how you'd feel if someone said those same words to your daughter. Every time you miss a workout, or if you don't lose as much as you wanted to lose that week. Whenever your inner voice screams that you're a big failure, think of how you'd feel if someone said that to your son. You need to realize the way you talk to yourself matters, and it absolutely affects your progress. While you can't control all 60,000 thoughts you have every single day, maybe it's time you start reflecting on all of the negative things you say about yourself and your weight loss efforts. Quit being your own biggest bully and instead become your biggest cheerleader. Because that's really the only way you'll ever make it through this journey into a body you love. By loving yourself every step of the way. Of course, that's way easier to do when you're actually making progress, which is exactly why you should watch this video next. I show you the 5 cheat codes I use to speed up weight loss, which made losing 50 pounds so much easier.